It'll take him a while to sign in. We also have Councilwoman Lena Mathis, and Councilman Jarrett Waite, Councilman Danny Drake, and Councilman Wendell Gubler. Is Ben there?
Mayor, I can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you too. Thanks for signing in, Ben. I'd like to begin the meeting with an opening ceremony and pledge of allegiance. We'd ask Councilwoman Mathis if she'd lead us in that. Would everyone please rise and salute the flag?
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful to be gathered here this evening for the City Council meeting in Santa Clara. We are grateful for this wonderful city that we have to live in. We are grateful for the moisture that is much needed and we are currently receiving. We ask that Thou might be with us, that we can do the things that would be in the best interest of our citizens and our city. And we ask for Thy care at this time, that all those who are suffering from the current pandemic may be taken care of and given some peace. And we're thankful for the blessings we receive from Thee. And this we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Lena. Communications and appearances. Is anyone here to address the council tonight on an item that's not part of the agenda? You got any on line or anything? Okay. Conflicts and disclosures, council. Do you have any conflicts of interest that you'd like to disclose at this point in time regarding the agenda tonight? I do have item number B3, the final plat for Sycamores, Santa Clara Phase 1D. The firm that I work with prepared that plat. Any other things we need to discuss or declare? Not, then we'll go on down in the agenda. On the working agenda, there is a couple of public hearings tonight. The first public hearing is to receive public input on amending the operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2020-21. Brock?
Yeah. So this is bringing back, we've discussed this a number of times in council. A couple things that we did add in. We did get numbers just recently on the street sweeper. We did get some numbers back from that. So we have the right one up here. So we do have here to present for the budget amendment here on for the general fund. We'll be amending it by $446,000. And that will be, of this, there's about 47,000 of the things that we took out from the original budget for this fiscal year during the time when the pandemic started and not knowing the economic effect it was going to have at the time. So we took out projects, equipment, any wage increases. We took those all out of the budget, and now with where we are with the budget, we feel comfortable of adding these items back into the budget. So in the budget of the general fund, we're adding in just over 47,000 will be in wages. And then the rest of that 446 is in equipment improvements. We're doing some improvements at the Rachel Drive Fire Station. The equipment and stuff there, it's for washer, dryer, this gear extractor, some AC units, and fixing the driveway approaches. And there are current apparatus tend to drag, and so when they come in and out of the station. So we're going to fix those. That's roughly $28,500. We've got also in Public Works the $300,000. That is for the new street sweeper. That will be bought out of the general fund, but half of that will also be paid for by stormwater. We'll pay half of that as well. So we'll be transferring funds from the stormwater fund to the general fund to cover half that cost. We have at Gubler Park in Parks, $26,000. We're going to do a slurry seal over the parking lot and restripe it. It's due for that. We're also going to buy, would like to buy 2 mowers. Our mowers are aging, things that they've been needed for a while. And then in the sports field, $13,000 for a field resurfacer, which all that totals $446,000 for the general fund. In the enterprise funds, we're amending just the water and power. The water, $180,000 for a new dump truck. The current dump truck is extremely aged. There's been shared a lot of concerns of its reliability. We'd like to get a new dump truck, and then for that's $180,000. And then in power, we're amending by $200,000. This is for a new bucket truck. Some of our poles, especially the new ones we put in, as I think we've discussed, our bucket trucks now won't reach to do our maintenance or anything on them. So I think it's an 80-foot bucket truck that we'd be roughly looking to purchase. So to amend the power by $200,000. And that's would be what we'll be amending, asking the council to approve for a budget amendment this year.
Is the street sweeper a replacement or is it in addition to the existing?
So we have a current one, and we'll keep the current one right now. If we traded it in, speaking with Jack, we wouldn't get much at a trade, so we'll keep it as a backup if needed, or something happened and we need both of them to run. We could go out and run both of them. The current one though is maintenance is starting to take a toll of maintenance it needs. It's possibly might need a new motor, but we would have them both just in the case of emergency if we needed to right now. So
We probably we're looking at maybe even just taking the sweeper off, because the original truck itself with the motor doesn't have a lot of miles. And so we're thinking maybe even just taking the sweeper off, the attachments off, and put a flatbed on it and use it to, when we do power, when we pull, wire and we need to haul transformers and stuff around, we might use it for that. But we'll use it, both of them, for a little while, or the one, I don't know if it's going to make it very long. So we're looking at about $20,000 to $25,000 to put a new motor in it.
Council, any other questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. I'd like to go ahead and open the public hearing and ask anyone who is here to speak or comment on this item to come to the mic, and just need you to state your name and your address, and council will be happy to hear your comments. And seeing none, we'll go ahead. And is there any on?
did not receive any.
There's no comments, and we'll go ahead and close that public hearing and go to the second public hearing. This is a public hearing to receive public input on consideration to approve a single event beer permit for the True Grit Epic Mountain Bike Race. Brock, is you or Brad doing the lead on this? Cimarron's here, I know.
Brad, yep.
Good evening. This is an application for a single beer permit. It's part of the Epic vendor for the Epic True Grit mountain bike race. We've had that race here for, I think Cimarron and I were just talking about the last 6 years. The race has actually ran for 9 years, but it's been here at City Hall. Starts at City Hall and then they go up and ride in the South Hills. This location of this, where they would serve the beer, would be across the street on the Steve Hafen property next to the city property over here across the street. We've done that the last, I believe, 2 years. The applicant is also, I believe this is his second or third year. Previously, we were over on the beer tent was over on the Dick Kohler property that was next door, but since he built on there, they asked and got permission from Steve Hafen to do it over there. Cimarron from Grow Promotions here. She runs the True Grit event race, and I don't know, Ryan Miller is supposed to be on Zoom.
I'm here.
Okay. If you have any questions for them, I know in the past we've had this single event beer permit for quite a few years here with the True Grit, and I believe the consensus was at the time when we first approved it that it would be better to have it in a controlled environment rather than have it, people bringing beer in and not controlling controlling it. Cimarron and Ryan can probably give you more information on it, but my understanding is that only participants can purchase the beer. In other words, they have to have a race and they have a bracelet. And I believe they can buy one beer for themselves and buy a second one for themselves or a guest. And Cimarron can clarify that, but that's all I have. If you have any
Questions for Brad, council? Okay, let's give the applicant a minute. Ryan or Cimarron, they're a speaker. Okay, Ryan, you're on.
Good evening, everybody. This is Ryan. I own Saltfire Brewing up in Salt Lake, and it's a pleasure to speak with you all tonight on the Zoom meeting. As Brad mentioned before, we've done this with Cimarron for the last couple of years, and we're looking forward to doing it again. It is a controlled environment, and IDs are checked, and there's limited space where people can consume. It's all roped off and secure. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions, council? This is something that we've done in the past. Cimarron, anything to add to Ryan?
Well, I did want to add that this is actually our 11th year doing the True Grit Epic. We love being here in Santa Clara. This event attracts, although this year is going to be much smaller, it attracts about between 900 and 1,200 participants. About 20% enjoy the beer garden. And it is really important because those are people that are coming. This is a worldwide event when we don't have a pandemic. We have people coming from Canada, Mexico, Denmark, France, Iceland, and the East Coast. This year will be our predominantly the farthest away that they come. And they just appreciate the opportunity to have an adult beverage when they finish riding anywhere between 50 and 350 miles in the weekend. And if you have any questions.
Cimarron, does the applicant, participating applicants, their fee, does this go towards any, my mind is,
Shots kicking in.
yeah. Is it going towards any charities or anything like that, or is this just a fundraiser for?
We are a privately held business. We do have a charity that we contribute to. It's not the major proceeds or anything. This year it is Wheels. Sorry, we just made the agreement with them. Wheels for Justice, and they assist people who have been kids who have been abused.
And I'm assuming you've got a COVID plan in place.
We do. This is actually going to be the third event that we've done during COVID. So we feel pretty comfortable about it. We've limited the number of entrants. The starting line is spread out. The important thing for the beer garden is that the finishers will be spread out. So typically they come, they get their food. If they want an adult beverage, they sit over there with their food and then they leave. Anybody in the venue is required to distance and wear a mask.
Any questions for Cimarron? Thank you, Cimarron. Rich, from public safety perspective, this is something that you guys support, is the event, the confined event?
Yeah, we since the very first year, they did it here, they didn't have a beer garden. And I remember talking to Brad, we found alcohol bottles and beer cans throughout our whole facility here. So we just basically come, really honestly, we would rather have it controlled and they have limited amount that they're allowed. I believe it's one person, and then they can buy one for a buddy. Rather than them running over here to Lightfoot's and grabbing a 6-pack and drinking them here in the parking lot, and then throwing their cans wherever they want to throw it. And then we run into the driving under the influence of alcohol and stuff like that. it's a lot more comfortable having it secure and controlled and limited amount. We've always supported it.
Questions for Rich, council? Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate you being here. Okay, any other questions or discussion before I open the public hearing? If not, then I'll go ahead and open this public hearing and invite anyone who is here to speak on this particular item. Give them the opportunity to come to the podium. And state your comments to the council. Seeing none here, do we have any on?
Did not receive any.
Okay. All right, if there's no public comment, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing on this item. Let me see, under general council, with your permission, let's drop down to item C2 and consider a special events permit for the True Grip Epic Race Beer Garden, the item we just had the public hearing on. See if there's any discussion from the council on this item. If not, I would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the special events permit for the True Grit Epic Race Beer Garden.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Lena and a second by Jarrett to approve the special events permit for the True Grit Epic Race Beer Garden. Any question on that motion? Let's see, let's do roll call anyway. Lena?
Aye.
Jarrett?
Aye.
Danny?
Aye.
Wendell?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
My vote's 5-0 approval, so thank you, council. Thank you, Simran. Go back up to the consent agenda, council. Under item B1, you have approval of the claims and minutes. The January 13th, 2021 regular city council meeting minutes and the claims through January 27th, 2021. Under the calendar, our work meeting will be next week on the 3rd, regular city council meetings on the 10th and the 24th, and reminder of the budget retreat on February 25th at 10:30. And that's here at Town Hall, right? Ron?
Correct.
And item 3 is consider approval of a final plat for Sycamores at Santa Clara Phase 1D, located south of the Santa Clara River and east of Gates Lane. This is just a one lot subdivision. I think that we've seen the preliminary plat on this before. Council, I don't know if you have any questions on this.
I have one question. The Lomar isn't done. So is there something, whether they bond or whether they put the improvements in up front, is there something that gets put on the Lomar? Because once it's recorded, theoretically, they could sell it. And you might have a party who's not aware that that Lomar's not done. Those are something we can, I don't know.
Is there a note on the plat, Corey? I know that this particular applicant has got a bunch of improvements that he has to put in before the plat can record, or he'll have to bond for, so it could be included in that bond.
Rock, you want to pull up that plat and we can look at it? Yep. See if they included the note. They usually include, the note for the Sycamores does have a blanket note that all, that a floodplain elevation permit would be required to kick in the Loma.
This is it. Right now, the proper portion of this lot is inside the floodplain. But the area can be filled based on the floodplain development permit that they're proposing on doing. And then the Lomar F can be happened after that fill's in place. Lomar F can't happen until the fill's actually placed. So they have to get that finished to do that. But typically the floodplain notes address a notice of hazard.
Can you blow that up on those notes right there? I think it says notice of hazard.
Yeah, it's inside the special flood hazard area. The erosion hazard has been mitigated with the riprap, so that's been taken care of. This notice alerts property owners of the potential risk of flooding that happens in there. The Lomar F will actually let them reduce some of their flood insurance rates for, and once they build a house and stuff in there.
Okay.
I don't know if that answered your question or not.
I just think someone purchasing it probably isn't going to read the plat, honestly. But
They do. anyway, the city has to permit any fill that has to be placed in there.
Okay.
And then it's got to be built to the appropriate elevations, and elevation certificate will issue to the city as
So
part of the building. Anyway.
prior to me issuing a building permit, they have to go to an engineer and get a floodplain elevation certificate. At that time, it would be on that permit, the Lomar's requirement.
My concern was more selling it up front once the improvements are done. Selling it once it's recorded and not having the Lomar in place was more my concern.
Any other questions on this, council? Council, do you want to do the consent agenda as one motion, or do you prefer to do them separately?
Mayor, I would move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a motion to approve the consent agenda by Jarrett, a second by Ben. As presented, any question on that motion, council? There's a money item and a plat, roll call. Lena?
Aye.
Jarrett?
Aye.
Benny?
Aye.
Wendell?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Thank you, council. The ayes have it, 5-0. The consent agenda is approved. Now, back on general business, item number 1. We get to swear in Selena Nez as a deputy recorder. Are you ready, Selena? There's an initiation that goes along with the swearing ceremony. Did they warn you? You're dressed pretty nice for this initiation ceremony. Okay, let's turn it over to Brock.
All right, so for a number of years, we have not had a deputy recorder to back up Chris in case of any need time. So we've had some discussion for a while about finding who we would want to be as a deputy recorder to learn that role. We selected Selena Nez. She's been with us for, say, about 3.5 years. I think it'll be 4 years here June-ish. She's worked in the building department with being a permit tech, also anything else that runs through up there for Jack as well. She's been fantastic. I know developers, contractors who work with her, love working with her. She's been fantastic for the city, and think she's sharp. She does a fantastic job of learning. She learns quick, and so we think she would be a fantastic fit as a deputy city recorder and helping and backing up Chris. So we would recommend that council okay with us swearing her in tonight. Is that?
Want to see?
What's that?
You can swear into.
Chris will take care of the swearing in. So she has that power, authority to do that.
Let's do it.
Right, Selena, you want to stand?
Better come up to the mic so we can get you on record.
You want to raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that you will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of this state, and that you will discharge the duties of your office with fidelity?
Yes.
Okay, you're in. We probably should have her maybe introduce herself, tell a little bit about herself.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
I am Selena Nez. I've worked for the city for 3.5 years, and I just love it. I always tell myself, I worked at my other job for about 20 years. And I'm like, why didn't you guys find me sooner? I grew up in St. George, married and have 2 kids. Most of my family I'm from Arizona, so a lot of extended family that live back there on the Navajo Reservation, Cedar Ridge. I just enjoy working for everyone. Staff is very nice, and council and mayor.
Great.
Do you have any other questions for me?
Questions, council?
I'll just echo what Brock said. I've also heard from builders that they get a good experience when they call in. You've done a great job there.
Thank you.
And very helpful. So I anticipate her sitting over there one of these days. Do not in a hurry, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you, Selena. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number B3, C3, consider amending the operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2021 and approve ordinance 21-03. Brock?
Yeah, so this is back to what we had the public hearing for tonight. So with what I presented there in the public hearing, that $446,000 general fund amendment, and then 180,000 in the water fund and 200,000 in the power for a dump truck and bucket truck.
Hey, council, you've heard the presentation. We talked about this at the work meeting extensively and I've heard public comment. Any questions regarding the request and the ordinance? If there aren't any, I would look for a motion.
I would move that we approve ordinance number 2021-03, amending the Santa Clara operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2020-21.
Second it.
Include ordinance. Oh, you said that in your motion, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got a motion by Denny and a second by Wendell. Any question on that motion, council? This is an ordinance, money item. Let's go roll call. Wendell?
Aye.
Denny?
Aye.
Jarrett?
Aye.
Lena?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Item number C4, consider approval of the budget calendar. Brock?
All right, so we have together the budget calendar setting forth dates for the budget process for fiscal year 2022, dates of meetings, times when we, for public hearings, when things need to be submitted to the state, to the county. And so this outlines our calendar of when we would like to have things done so we can get it done in a timely fashion, also meet state code. So some of the big dates, as we will have the staff retreat with the council on February 25th. Also, we will have a work meeting to discuss on April 7th and May 5th, and we'll have public hearings, one on the tentative budget and one for the final budget. And we will propose that we would adopt the final budget on June 9th, pending there's nothing from the public hearing that we would need to push it out. So in the outlines there, if there was a proposed tax increase, we would push that out. We'd have to notify the county and we'd push it out, and then end up in August. We'd be adopting the budget then. So.
Okay, any questions regarding the budget calendar? If not, I would look for a motion to approve it.
Move to approve the budget calendar for fiscal year 21-22. Budget preparation calendar as discussed.
Second.
Got a motion by Denny and a second by Jarrett to approve the budget calendar as presented. Any question on that motion, council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ben, did you say aye?
I did.
Thank you. You guys have it 5-0. Item number C5, consider approval of a project plan for a proposed O'Reilly Auto Parts store in a planned development commercial zone located approximately 3635 Pioneer Parkway in the Giovango subdivision, Lot 2, in the southwest corner of the intersection of Pioneer Parkway and Rachel Drive. Project plan consists of the site plan and the building elevation drawings. RKF Santa Clara LLC is the applicant. Mr. Nicholson.
Okay, thank you. Number 5 and 6 are similar in that their properties are already zoned commercial. They're both zoned PD commercial. And the O'Reilly's is adjacent to the next application we'll hear. That's the Quinchette. So they're adjoining properties on the southwest corner of the intersection with Rachel Drive and Pioneer Parkway. So the site plan shows 7,453 square foot, single level building. It's 21 foot tall with approximately 46 parking spaces. Only 30 are required. So you can see they have significant extra parking spaces. There are two shared driveways off Pioneer Parkway, are planned ranging from 30 to 40 feet wide. Also, there is a 30-foot wide access lane along the rear property line. Maybe Brock, we can pull up the site plan. We can look at that. So that the access along the south property line that abuts the residential property, that is a 30-foot wide access lane. It extends from Rachel Drive, comes out behind Dollar Tree, and then connects over to Pioneer Parkway. So the circulation for this project is good. See, the O'Reillys shares a driveway on each side of the building. They share a driveway with the Dollar Tree that's located just to the east. And they share a driveway with the Quinchit project just to the west of the O'Reilly store. The O'Reilly store has a 20-foot front setback off Pioneer Parkway. They have provided a detailed landscape plan, which shows approximately 14,600 square feet of landscaping on the site, which equals 24.8% of the site on this 1.3 acre property. So they comply totally with the PD landscape requirement. In other words, that entire front setback area is landscaped. So they have a 20-foot setback area that's landscaped. They also, if you can see on the site plan, they show those planter boxes that are partially within the sidewalk area, but they also go into the landscape area. There's also significant landscaping on the west side of the store. And they also have landscaping in at least two of their planter islands within the parking lot. At the Planning Commission meeting, Chris Forsyth, who was a co-applicant, stated that the landscape strip along the south, which again butts the residential border, has been increased from 10 feet to 20 feet. The parking lot light poles are proposed at 25-foot height and will be shielded to direct the light downwards. A lighting plan has also been provided. The applicant states that the existing privacy wall along the residential land border will remain unchanged. If you've been at the site, you can see where the residential property is higher than the commercial property there to the north. Also, the street lights are required every 250 feet of street frontage along Pioneer Parkway. If there aren't any particular questions about the site plan, we'll go on to the building elevations. I know, I think Ryan Forsyth, I think, is on Zoom here tonight to answer questions. So talking a little bit about the building elevations, again, the building is proposed at 21 foot tall with a metal seamed roof and exterior walls consisting of stucco, the synthetic stucco they call EIFS, and a split face block, which is also called CMU. The stucco is proposed to be a light tan in color with the split face block being a darker tan. So you can see from the elevations drawings there, the two colors of the exterior walls, kind of the light tan and the dark tan. The applicant states that the building's color scheme is planned to harmonize with the adjacent Dollar Tree store. A monument sign is proposed along Pioneer Parkway, and the store will also have 3 wall signs. As you can see on these elevations, the O'Reilly's standard sign. So at the Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission recommend approval of the project plan, which is the site plan and the elevations, and then also specifically approve the wall signs. The zoning code states them in a or in the sign ordinance says that wall signs in a PD commercial zone require planning commission approval. So the planning commission has approved these proposed wall signs. So that's, I think, all I have, unless you have questions. Say the applicant, Ryan Forsyth, is on Zoom. I'm not sure if anybody is present tonight for this one.
Bob, the front exterior elevation, is that the elevation that's facing south or facing east?
I believe it'll face east.
It faces
Front
east?
Faces east, if I
Okay.
remember from the, looking up here at the,
And so the right exterior would be the one facing Pioneer?
So my question is the glass windows adjacent to Pioneer and the door that's indicated, is that a usable door or is it just a facade?
On the Pioneer Parkway side?
Correct.
I'm not sure. I don't know, Corey, if we, or maybe Ryan, if he's present, could.
Yes, sir. I'm here. That is just a facade. It's not a usable door.
Okay.
And I would be fine removing that door to make it match more similar to the Dollar Tree, how we did that as well. I mean, just make it just glass, you know.
Keep people from walking up and pulling on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not needed for fire code, right? Yeah, my suggestion would be to take it out.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if the architect was thinking about if it might have been fire code, but I certainly will look into it. I agree. I don't like it a non-functional door. So
I have a question about the light poles. I've gotten compliments from residents about the light poles in the Dollar Tree parking lot. Will these light poles be similar?
yeah, I would propose to match those exactly so it had a cohesive look throughout the development.
Do you know how tall they are in the Dollar Tree? I've been asked that by residents and I don't know.
I can find out.
Well, they're 25 feet listed on their plans for the O'Reillys.
Okay, it doesn't seem like they're that tall, the Dollar Tree side, but anyways, just so you know, I've gotten compliments on those lights. They did a good job on those.
Cool, thanks.
This lights right here on the mall, looks like it's shorter than the 25-foot wall. Those are downspouts.
Yeah, those are lights on the building. I'm talking about the lights in the parking lot.
The rain gutters coming down. Any other questions, council, for Bob or for the applicant? Planning Commission recommended approval, Bob?
Yes.
Hey, Mayor, can I make a couple comments while
Please.
we're on this item? I owe Councilman Waite an apology because he sent me an email with questions that are potentially relevant to this item and the next one. I thought I'd just make a couple comments relevant to that, if that's okay. Basically, the question was regarding what kind of leeway the council has in considering PD approvals. And this, although it's just a project plan review, the way that we've been handling these where they have an existing PD designation is essentially reviewing the project plan as part of that PD designation. And then if we approve it, it becomes part of that approved zoning. And so I think the questions that you had, Jarrett, were relevant to this. But I think the simple answer to the question as to what leeway the city council has considering these types of things, PD approvals, project plan approvals, is that the city council has a tremendous amount of leeway. You know, the PD zone is sort of a unique creature in our ordinances in the sense that it's the one type of zone where we do a very detailed review before the zoning is vested. We don't do that in any of our other types of zones. You know, our standard residential zones don't get that kind of review before the zoning is vested. And so I think the thing to remember with all zone changes, including with PD approvals and with project plan approvals that are going to become part of the zoning, is that you're essentially making law. You're acting as the legislative body of the city. You are you're acting in the capacity as an elected official. And to that end, you have a tremendous amount of leeway to either approve or not approve an application to change the zoning. Because essentially what you're doing is you're changing the zoning ordinance, you're changing the zoning designation that's on the map. You're making new law. So I don't know if that answers your question. If we want to talk about specifics, we can. We've tried in our revamp of the PD ordinance to provide specifics, to provide guidance to applicants as to what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. But at the same time, we've tried to preserve flexibility so that the city council can say in any given case, yes, the ordinance has those guidelines, but for this reason or that reason, we don't like this particular thing. Frankly, with a zone change, I know in the past we've talked about questions of, how does public opinion or public clamor play into a particular application? When you're talking about a zone change, the city council has the right to reject an application just simply because they don't think the public likes it, where you may not have that right if it's some other type of decision that's not a legislative decision. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer those. And Councilman Waite in particular, I hope that answers your question. So
Yeah, it does. I kind of just had, it kind of stemmed from if like a building meets all the code, like of where it's situated and how it looks and everything, are we allowed to still say no if they meet all the ordinances? And so it sounds like we have to go off what's in the public interest more than anything else when we make that decision. Like that plays into it, but that's not the only guiding principle. And if we say yes or no.
yeah, the other thing that plays into this too is the state code says that the city is only required to adhere strictly to its general plan if its own ordinances require that. Otherwise, it's just a guiding document, right? And we've talked about this before. The way our ordinances handle that is they basically say, when reviewing a matter that, that's under the general plan, our ordinance provides a list of things that should be taken into consideration. But what our ordinance doesn't say is that, that you have to strictly follow that. It basically says, you should review these items, you should consider these as factors, but in the end, it's ultimately your decision because, again, you're making a legislative decision. So.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for Matt, Council? Ola? I had one other comment, Bob or Ryan, where we eliminate that door on Rachel Drive. There's a sidewalk that runs up to that door now. Just wondering if we can relocate that sidewalk to the east so that it lines up with the sidewalk that goes to the front door. So a pedestrian would have direct access to the door. Be able to get on that
Absolutely.
sidewalk, not have to walk through the parking lot to get in there.
Yeah, that looks like a great addition. I'm all for it.
So Mayor, you're saying you just bring that sidewalk straight along the east side of the building?
Yeah, just where that sidewalk goes up in front of the parking, extend it right out to the sidewalk. So a pedestrian walking up the street doesn't have to go through the parking lot to get it to the building front door. They can take that sidewalk directly up there.
Yeah, I like that.
They'll just cut through the landscaping. Okay, council, any other questions or comments concerning this application, site plan, or the building elevations?
I would just add that I'm really pleased with the landscaping plan and the buffer they've added for the residents and locations of things. I haven't gotten any complaints about this building from the residents for this plan.
It's a good looking building. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, and if I can get back to my agenda, I would look for a motion for item C5 consider approval of the project plan for the proposed O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
I can make that motion. So I move that we approve the project plan for the O'Reilly Auto Parts store in the planned development commercial zone located approximately 3635 Pioneer Parkway in the Gio subdivision lot 2 as presented, with the changes of the sidewalk location and the removal of the door on the north side of the building.
Second.
We've got a motion by Jarrett and a second by Lena to approve the project plan as presented and the changes that were discussed. Any question on that motion, council?
And I just add to my motion and that the lights would match the Dollar Tree lights.
Okay with your second? Okay, and the addition that the lights would match the existing lights at the Dollar Tree. Any question on that modified motion, council? If not, let's go to a roll call vote. Wendell?
Aye.
Denny?
Aye.
Jarrett?
Aye.
Lena?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Ben, if you have comments on these things, speak up, because I will forget about you.
Nope, I'm thrilled with what they've proposed. I think all the comments were great and yeah, I'm full support.
Great, thanks, Ben. Right, it passes. Item C6, consider approval of a project plan for proposed Quenchit Retail Center in a planned development commercial zone located approximately 3663 Pioneer Parkway in the Gio subdivision lot 1. The project plan consists of a site plan and building elevation drawings. Derek Wiggins is representing Mr. Nicholson, or Mr. Bundy.
Yeah, we thought we'd share.
You'd switch up just to mess me up, huh?
PD commercial zone. The applicant requests approval of project plan consists of a site plan, building elevation drawings for a Quenchit Retail Center on lot 1 of the Gio commercial subdivision. The proposed uses are restaurant, retail, and office. The PD commercial zone requires that the PD hold a public hearing on the project plan, which they did last week. The site plan shows 2 buildings, 4,600 square feet each and 24-inch, 24-foot, 24 tall to top of the parapet. Both buildings have 20-foot setbacks off the Pioneer Parkway and a 12-foot wide drive-through lane within the front setback area along with the 10-foot landscape strip along the frontage of the Pioneer Parkway. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the drive-through lane in setback area because it felt that the balance of the site was adequately landscaped. The zoning code, like Bob said before, requires that the entire 20-foot front landscape area be landscaped, but also provides deviations if Planning Commission, City Council feel that significant landscape is provided elsewhere outside the front setback area. The landscape plan has been provided, which shows perimeter of the site is landscaped, 10-foot wide along Pioneer Parkway, including the south property line adjacent to the residential zone, 3.5 foot on that strip. And also both buildings have landscape around the buildings and in the parking lot islands. Along the west property line is a 3-foot wide landscape strip and a 6-foot tall privacy wall. The site appears to be well landscaped with numerous trees. The parking requirements are 71 for both buildings with 3,200 square feet of proposed restaurant, which requires 32 parking spaces, and 96 square foot of proposed retail and office use, which requires 39 parking spaces. The applicant states that 73 parking spaces are provided, 63 on site and 10 on the adjacent property. At this point, the applicant does not have the firm plans for a second restaurant, and no agreement has been reached with the adjacent property owner for additional parking. The applicant agrees that prior to obtaining a building permit for the second restaurant of 3,200 square feet, the additional 10 parks is needed to meet the city parking requirements will need to be shown on the site plan. As Bob stated before, O'Reilly's store does have surplus parking. The building elevation drawings, the two buildings are similar in design and color, each building being 24 inches, 24 feet tall. To top of the parapet with gray stucco and black metal wall panels trimmed with an awning. They do have a color rendition. Individual stores' names are conceptually shown above the front entry to each space, but these are not the final sign proposal. Because the tenants, of course, the tenants have not been identified. Those wall signs will need to be approved by Planning Commission prior to the sign permit being issued. The gray and black color scheme is intended to complement the natural lava rock in the vicinity. Planning Commission's action. Public hearing was held on January 14th. There was only one citizen comment, and that was a question on the building height. There were no objections by the public at the hearing. Planning Commission recommends approval as follows. Recommend approval of the project plan as presented. Recommend approval of the 12-foot wide drive-through lane which within the front setback, noting that significant landscaping is provided outside the front setback area, including both around the building and along the south and west property lines and within islands of the parking lot. Number 3, if a second restaurant is developed, additional parking spaces to meet the city requirement will need to be shown on the site plan prior to obtaining a building permit for the restaurant. Any questions on the site plan? The applicant is, I believe, on Zoom. There you are.
For you, Derek. Derek, do you want to add anything to the presentation? Just need you to state your name and your address and who you're representing.
Derek Wiggins, representing Quinchit Retail Center.
Go ahead.
Okay. So some of the site considerations that we took into account, not only were the landscaping, but I guess specifically some items with the landscaping would be, we really felt it was important to provide landscaping at the building and around all sides of the building to make it less feel like a large parking lot, just because that will really soften up the visibility of the buildings. So additionally, besides around the buildings, we've also provided a landscape strip to the east near the drive, which is 10 feet wide, which makes up for a good portion of the driveway lanes that we did add. So that alone helped quite a bit with our landscape numbers. But then one of the biggest things that we were, again, concerned about would be the lighting. And so we have provided some details for the lighting that we're proposing. All the lighting has downward throw. None of it will have any forward throw. The pole lights we do have are 25 feet tall, and we wouldn't mind matching the neighbors for O'Reilly's and Dollar Tree, because I think that's a great idea. Might as well, especially if the public seem to like those already. So, but those are the two fixtures that we're proposing so far. And then additionally, St. George City, I've done a lot of work there. They have a lot of concerns and problems with drive-throughs and the amount of stacking in their drive-throughs. And so we've provided what I feel is adequate, if not additional parking beyond needed. The drive-through lane on the right has 12 parking stalls, while the drive-through lane on the left has, or on the west, has 16 stalls for stacking. And so in the attempts to prevent any overflow into the drives. So, and that's kind of the big reason why we've pushed those drive-through lanes into the setbacks, was to accommodate enough space for the stacking in those drive-through lanes. And other than that, I guess to comment onto the parking, yes, we understand we don't have all the parking spaces needed on this space at this time. If we were to get all 3,200 square feet of restaurant space, which we understand. And so we don't necessarily need them, but obviously if we had tenants who came in and needed more parking for their restaurant space, we would be, and we've already had some conversation with the O'Reilly neighbors. We'd talk to those guys and hopefully be able to work something out. But otherwise it would just be office, if not, or retail space.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Derek, council?
I have a couple. Yeah. So you'll have to build a new wall, right, on the west side? Correct. On a portion of it, because there's a dirt lot to the west, which is zoned residential. Yeah. Yeah. And so is it planned just to have that match the block wall that is already existing in that area? It would be, yeah. And some of the walls, especially to the south, are already elevated 3 or 4 feet, and then there's already another 6-foot wall. So fortunately, we have some great privacy already there. Okay, very good. And then, so I know the couple residents that live near there, and they were just curious why the building that Quenchit is not in, the second building, is not also turned onto the street. Do you want to address that, just so it's on the record? As to why Quenchit isn't in the building on the west? No, like the building on the west, why it isn't turned in also on the street instead of running north-south. It's not running. Yeah, it's in order to primarily facilitate the flow of the space, because if we turn the building, we wouldn't be able to get a very clear turnaround for vehicles that get into that area. Because the way it is right now, if you pulled into there, you could still at least pull all the way around. You wouldn't have to do any U-turns or 20-point turns to get out of the space. And so that's really what basically forced us to turn that building. So we did explore having them both the same direction, but again, flow of traffic was really difficult. And I imagine fire trucks would have even a worse of a time if they ever got down that road. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. And then, let's see. Do you have any idea on what the expectation of the hours of operation will be for your tenants? And this is mostly based around the building on the west. Those residents are concerned with like a drive-through that's open till midnight or something, and they're hearing food orders till all hours of the night. And I know you can't totally control that, but just do you have any expectations of? I don't. Is Melanie, are you on the Zoom meeting? She's the owner of the operation. I don't know if she's on, but I mean, my expectation would be up till around 8 or 9. I mean, that just kind of standard business hours. We're not anticipating, any bars or anything like that would run super late. So I think using the models of like Fizz or Swig, who are open, I believe, until about 10. I think those are the latest. But that's just me remembering off the top of my head.
Other questions, council?
Are you putting in any monument signs on Pioneer?
We don't have any plan at this time.
Okay. And are you building A first, or?
Yes, correct. Yep. And I guess I can ask one more thing. So several residents have reached out to me and they're concerned about the dumpster locations. You may notice like on the O'Reilly, it was quite a bit of ways from the back wall, and same with the Dollar Tree, it's quite a ways away. Residents are just worried about sound and smell and infestations or whatever with restaurants. Is there anywhere else you can put those on the site that would be further away from the residences? I believe we could locate at least one of them to the west wall on building A. We could maybe swap out some parking for near there. It would be more visible from the street side, which is obviously a different concern. So we'd be open to definitely relocating it if needed. Okay. Yeah, I think that would help a lot. Just the idea of having a dumpster out your back door is not always ideal, I think.
Mayor, I've got one question.
Go ahead, Ben.
In looking at them, they're separated. Was there any is there any possibility, or was it looked at that these could be put together where the truck could come in, dump them at the same time and leave?
You're talking just the dumpsters, right? Not the buildings?
Just the dumpsters. They're separated there, and obviously they get dumped early or late. I think they usually get in there pretty early, but is there a place to put them where, I'm thinking more, and Jared asked on this, but more just combining them in one location instead of having them staggered out there. But it's really just more of a comment, and if they had looked at it.
Yeah, we originally did have them together at one point, and the issue was the locations that worked to have them together. It wasn't they're quite far away from building B, and there was some concerns brought up in our original TRC meetings about travel distances to the dumpsters for those owners.
Okay. In regards to that, and just maybe to follow up on Jarrett, personally, I think putting the dumpsters out of the street on a restaurant, I don't know if that's, I don't know, I guess you can look at it, but I'm not so sure I'd be in favor of that over where they're located, because there is a elevation difference where they're located now.
Brock, can you pull up the renderings?
Yes.
Keep going. Keep going. This one here, can you zoom out on it? My mind's playing tricks on me, Derek, so I got to ask you. The man doors that come out the back of the dance studio and the insurance and the dental place. On the site plan, those go to the drive-up window,
Yeah,
not the street?
Yeah, everything.
Okay, so you're playing brain games with me.
Yes, yeah.
I've been trying to figure out that view. Where's that view taken from? But it's
all part of our plan.
like in that backyard and the drive-up window's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Are those doors just fire exits? Those aren't service doors, or are they?
Those are fire exits.
Just fire exits.
Correct. And one of them is for a fire riser room as well.
So they exit out into the drive-up window, but they're not going to be used as part of the operation.
Correct. And we have taken into account to provide it, I believe, 5 feet for a proper landing.
Okay. And that's just part of the fire code.
Yep.
All right. My mind can rest easy now. Okay. Council, any other questions?
Mayor, I did, it's not a public hearing, but we did receive a comment that most of the items in this general residence points are what concerns are what Jared has addressed, but we did receive one comment from a resident online.
Is it just an online comment, or is he on?
Just an online, just was submitted.
All right, and Jarrett's pretty well addressed those questions?
Yeah, most of them, they deal with the setbacks to the west that was discussed, setbacks on the west and south, and then lighting and the garbage.
Thanks, bro. Any other questions, council?
I was hoping maybe Corey could address the setbacks question that he had in that message. I think he was under the impression there shouldn't be like anything within that 10-foot, no parking, no drive-through, nothing, kind of like Dollar Tree's done. But I would love kind of an explanation on the record of why it's okay to do it this way versus what he was suggesting. Setbacks only deal with like where the building's located, right? Not what the usage is in that 10 feet.
Right. So I don't think there's any restrictions on having a driveway or a street there.
Okay, thanks, Corey. Anything else, council? You did indicate that you are willing, if council wants, to match the streetlights on the adjacent properties.
Yeah, that's correct. And I do have material samples as well. I don't know if you guys like to look at those.
Like the color samples?
Yes.
Exteriors, council, you need to look at them. They're going to match those renderings perfectly, right?
Exactly.
Okay, as long as you're doing that.
And on Ben's question on the dumpster, did we agree to move those to a different site? I mean, I can see a it says here, don't block intersection, but if the dumpster, the truck actually shows up at the wrong time, it could block that entry to enter in once you're turning off of that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would be fine moving it. I think where I'm currently just right now looking at moving it is maybe that south island on the center and pointing them to the east.
Where the tree is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the landscape plan, but that's the south landscaped island.
Yep.
Put your cursor there,
So just a little bit more south into the west.
right there.
To the south further. Yep, and then locating them on the east-hand side and pointing them to the east, so they'd have a straight shot at them, and then also they're located together. They're a little bit away from the residences, and they're also somewhat in the middle of the two buildings. I think that would be, in my mind, just looking at it right now, probably the best spot considering your comments.
Centrally located there.
Yeah, I would agree.
I do have just one other comment in general. It isn't necessarily a question. So I've met with everyone that lives around this development, and I'd say in general they're in favor of it. They like the idea of having the convenience of something close, and the buildings look really nice. Kind of just the one sticking point with several of them was having a drive-through, 3 feet off their back wall. And like one resident, she said she works at a lawyer's office near KFC in town, and they can smell the KFC all day. They hear the orders through their windows in the office. And so I'm not sure if we do want to drive through right there. I don't know if it should be maybe on the north side of the building or just not have a drive through in that building. I'm just not, I'd love a discussion from council. And I don't know if these residents ever envision having a drive through literally off their back wall. I don't know if there's anything necessarily wrong with that in the code or anything, but just, is that what we want in that area? I didn't hear any complaints about the drive-throughs for Quenchit. It's far enough away. But on that building B, that's really, really close to all those homes.
So the drive-throughs will have kind of the speaker systems. And so they'll be on the northeast corner of building B. So hopefully that should be far enough away to kind of mitigate a lot of the sound. So all the order placing will be as far away as possible for that building, especially further to the east. Just on that corner right there is where the speaker system will be.
So that's where you order and then you pick it up on the other end of the building?
Yeah, yep. Just because we have to be able to grab it through the left-hand side. So it'd be nice if you could just flip it, but that's cool. We're not in London, sadly. So
Well, the order is a remote. That's just the menu on the board and the microphone and speakers and stuff like that. They order there, then pull around, stage around the building and pick it up on the other corner.
yeah, in building B, we have plans for the drive-through, and honestly, we may not get a restaurant that goes in there, and so it might not even happen. Building A is a for sure thing. We've already got Quenchit. They're the ones developing it, so we know building A will need a drive-through.
That probably mitigates the sound with the speaker closer to the residents. I don't know if you can mitigate the restaurant smell. By eliminating the drive up, you're still going to have the restaurant smells.
Mayor, on the drive-through, if I may speak on that, with COVID and everything that's happened this last year, more and more companies want drive-throughs, even if they're non-food companies. We had a title company approach us on our building over in St. George, and they wanted that building specifically because it had a drive-through. And they do title work. So again, I think for developers and things like that, the drive-throughs, even for the non-food industries, are becoming extremely important for these to be successful. So that would just be my 2 cents on that.
Thanks, Ben. Any other questions or comments, council?
I'll just add again, those residents are also just concerned, not just with smells, but also just the fumes of a car sitting there for a few minutes. And if it's anything like, like the Quenchit line could be quite long and a lot of cars sitting there for a long time. We don't know what this will be either, but just they're concerned with, and unfortunately those houses were built with pretty small backyards. So these buildings are actually pretty close, and those cars would be even closer to those back doors. So one resident said like they might have to move with their health. if those steams do end up coming up over the wall.
Yeah, the top of that wall, I believe, is a minimum, because the wall is 6 feet tall. And then in portion, the lowest portion, I believe, when I was out there, is going to be about 3-4 feet tall above that to the bottom of the wall. So that would put you at 9-10 feet to the top of that wall. And there's other portions that are even 12 feet to the top. So I wouldn't anticipate any light going over the tops. So, and that's one reason we felt good about proposing a drive-through, just because we do have that natural barrier right now, just with the existing wall.
You're saying the adjacent residential are higher than this site.
They are, yeah.
They're all going to be electric cars in a couple of years anyway.
That'd be great.
Okay. Other discussion, council? Thank you, Derek. Appreciate the clarification. Okay, I'll bring it back to council to see if anyone is ready to make a motion.
I would move that we approve the Quinchik project with the adjustment of the dumpsters and the lighting to match that of the other sites. And according to the planning commission approvals.
Okay, got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Denny and second by Wendell to approve the project plan for the proposed Quinchit Retail Center located at 3663 Pioneer Parkway. Subject to relocating the dumpsters as discussed and the lights conforming to the same design as the adjacent properties, and recommendation of the planning commission. Any question on that motion, council?
Would you consider adding something about the planners, that they match the other planners? We haven't really discussed that, but the renderings have them in one spot, the landscape planner in another spot. You probably just want to match what's already on.
You're talking about the street planner?
The street planner.
The rock street planners?
That was an assumption I already.
You already made that, so you're assuming that those rock planners already match what's going on up there. Same with the second. That was satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, council? Let's do roll call. Ben, you still awake?
I'm awake. Aye, Mayor.
Lena?
Aye.
Jarrett?
Aye.
Denny?
Aye.
Wendell?
Aye.
5-0, the ayes have it. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. Oh, Chief Hancy. Consider awarding the bid of the Rachel Street Fire Station remodel. Chief, I'm sorry to hear about your dad.
Thank you. I appreciate
He was,
that. I
he
appreciate
was a
that.
fun guy.
Yeah, he was a great man. Thank you. Appreciate those kind words. So what this is we've got some bids that are for our Rachel Station remodel project. I've attached those bids so you could look at those to kind of compare and see where those bids came in at. This is what this project does is allows us to have some sleeping quarters, living quarters down there at Rachel Station. Upgrades and updates the needs in that building to make it more usable and functional. It'll switch out the lighting to more economical LED lighting, new paint, carpet, add some walls, fire sprinkler system to bring it up to code. And you can see the difference in the two bids there. One was the low bid was $78,023, the high bid being $116,208. And so we recommend that we go with the low bid of $78,023.
And his bid is complete. There's nothing missing in there.
The only thing that's not included in that bid would be part of the sprinkler line system from the fire hydrant to the building. So that's not included in his bid.
but the bid compared to the other bid is complete. He hasn't left anything out that the other bidder had in his.
Yeah, as far as, my review of the bid, they were comparable and things were complete.
It's a big disparity is the only reason I asked, just to
Yeah.
make sure that.
And I believe Brock and I went over that and reviewed it.
And
We wanted to make sure they were comparable.
And Bonham Construction did the work in the front office for the city during the earlier, all the glass and those beams and stuff like that. So he has worked with the city, did good work for us.
So I've got a question. Did we provide a bid scope for these as an itemized scope of what we wanted them to do?
Well, how that worked is I met with each contractor at the site and went over the same thing with both contractors, what we anticipated and what we needed to have done. And that's how that process took place.
Okay, so they just broke it out in their bid then of what they're actually bidding? Because I guess the question is, normally when it goes out to bid, there's a scope, a written scope, but I guess you can look at it from their bid on that. The second question, it might be a question for Corey, just on the fire sprinklers. What determines that the update requires that the entire project become, brought up to speed? I mean, are we required to have fire sprinkler? That's probably a pretty significant cost on these bids. I guess are we required to do that? Is that something we want to put in there? What determined that?
So yeah, because they have the sleeping rooms in there, when they install the sleeping room, that kicks into the requirement to have the fire sprinklers. I checked with several plan reviewers up north, and they concurred that that was required, so, according to the building code.
Okay. So was the entire building getting fire sprinkled then?
So actually, it'll just be the living quarters, not the bays where the fire trucks are located. Those don't have fire sprinklers in them.
And that's not part of this scope of work. They're not doing anything to the bays, so that's not included in the requirements for the fire sprinklers.
Okay.
Any other questions, council, for Chief Hansing?
I guess just the main difference I'm seeing between the two bids is the demolition is a way different number. Are we sure the first bid is the same in terms of demolition? He has tear out, which
And
I'm
it's
assuming.
spelled out on this bid that we're looking at right now, spells out what scope of that demolition includes.
It's like on the second one, it's remove all flooring, except bathrooms, remove walls, remove stucco, drywall, remove kitchen cabinets, remove ceiling drywall, as well as appliances, remove drywall as required for fire sprinklers, remove all attic insulation. I'm just curious if that's also everything that'll be done in the first bid. But those things don't match up, it seems like.
I got a hunch that they're probably included, like, you go down in his bid, he's got removing the sink and countertop built into the replacement cost. I would imagine that as they've balanced the bid, typically that's what they do. If there's not a method of payment or an M&P inside the bid document. Isn't that right, Ben?
Yeah, I think they've got it in, they kind of combined in several areas. I think that, so I think the bid looks good. That was my big thing for me, was the fire sprinkler work just seemed, the number seemed very low. And so that's where I was just trying to get an understand what we were doing. But looking at all this, I think he's got the bulk of what's in there. And frankly, I think this is where we were trying to trying to stay budget wise. So I would just verify on that, but I think it all looks good.
And just to clarify once again on the fire sprinklers, that this bid doesn't include bringing the fire line to the building. It's just from the fire riser forward into the building.
Right. But both bids are that way.
Both bids are that way, yes.
That's potentially, I think we were going to work with possibly our own staff that might be able to
Put the line,
do that.
fire line in.
And if not, we may have to come back to council for approval, additional expense for just the fire line to the building. If we can't get that through city staff, water department.
Do we know where that would come from? Is that fire line ran around the back of the building?
Yeah, there's a fire hydrant located directly to the west behind our training containers back there. So it's probably about 50 feet, I'd say, from the building.
Does the remodel satisfy our agreement with Ivans with the changes being made?
It would, remodel and putting in sleeping quarters, living quarters there. Yes, it would.
Okay.
And this is also, these are impact fee eligible, and we do have the impact fee funds there to pay for this.
This is better than that $1 million bid.
Yeah, a little bit less than that one.
Okay, any other questions or comments, council? If not, I'd look for a motion.
I would move that we approve the proposed recommendation of $78,233, which on our sheet shows a whole lot more than that, but
What's the bid amount per his bid?
well, bid up here is $78,023. The bid amount down here is $78,0233.00.
Just another,
Just a
I
just
got
a
an extra
typo.
number in there.
To award it to Rob
$3 million.
Rob Bonham Construction, the low bidder.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Got a motion by Denny and a second by Wendell to approve the award of the bid of the Rachel Drive Fire Station. The Bonham Construction is presented. Any question on that motion, council? This is a money item, roll call, Wendell,
Aye.
Denny,
Aye.
Jarrett,
Aye.
Lena,
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Thank you, council. Thank you, chief.
Thank you, council.
Item number 8, consider approval of an agreement with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for purchase of equipment and water shares related to the Chapel Street Orchard and associated donation of the land to the city. Matt, you want to kind of walk us through this?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. We gave the council a little preview of this at our last meeting. The agreement is now before us. It's been prepared by the church. And I'll just mention that I believe also on our Zoom call, we have Taylor Levitt, who is representing the church in this transaction. We've been corresponding with him. So if there's questions or he may want to add a couple of comments to this as well. But the agreement is pretty straightforward. If you recall, there was in our prior agreement with the church on the orchard, the city had agreed to essentially commit $25,000 to the ultimate relocation of the shed and other infrastructure on that site. That was to facilitate the dedication of the roadway through the property. What the church has proposed in this agreement is essentially to donate to the city or to exchange with the city the real property plus all of the personal property on site, which is, any equipment that's in the shed, everything that's there on site, with the exception of the tractor, which they've already moved, as well as 3 shares of water that the church has owned and used to irrigate there, 3 shares in the canal company, in return for payment of that $25,000, which had already been committed by the city. So obviously, it represents a significant value coming to the city in return for that $25,000. It's just shy of 2 acres of land. I was looking at it today. I think it's about 1.98, 2 parcels. And that's excluding the roadway that the city has already obtained. So that's basically the agreement. It's pretty straightforward. There is a closing that would happen similar to a typical real estate purchase, and what that would do would allow us some time to have a title company prepare a title commitment so that the city would receive a deed to the property, would obtain title insurance for the property. That would be at the city's cost, and the city would pay the costs of the closing and so on. The only other thing I'll point out is that the deed will come to the city with a restriction on the use that the property can be put to. But the restriction is essentially that the current use of the property as a community garden, orchard, green space, or other improved public open space be maintained. And as I read that, that's pretty broad. And so, I think the intent is to maintain the orchard, maintain the garden, but I think that gives some leeway so that if in the future the city decides that there's a better use to put that property to, it gives some flexibility. So I think that's great. That's basically it, unless you have questions that I haven't covered. And I don't know if Taylor has any comments he'd like to make.
Can you hear us, Taylor?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you just fine. Other than what Matt's already stated, I don't have any other comments.
You just couldn't swing us the tractor, huh?
I guess not. Well, if I really wanted it somewhere else.
One question, why quit claim instead of warranty? Is that because of restriction?
No, I guess that would be a question for the church to answer. I don't, typically a quit claim is given when there is some question about, what rights someone has to the property. A quit claim deed comes without any warranties of any kind about the title that the church has. I'm not, if we're going to be obtaining title insurance on the property anyway, we'll have the protection of the title insurance coverage. So I don't know that it makes a whole lot of difference to us in a practical sense, but that's what they've offered us is a quit claim deed. Essentially, they're saying we will give you whatever ownership in the property we have. And I don't know that there's any doubt or question that the church does have title of the property. So.
Usually in the title insurance, so you're only covered by whatever restrictions the title company puts in the bottom line. On a quit claim deed,
We could do a survey, even have an alpha survey and have the title do an alpha policy.
Yeah.
Probably do about the same thing.
very expensive. I just wondered, Mr. Taylor, is there any reason for the quit claim versus the warranty deed?
That's just what our legal counsel generally approves and recommends on the method of conveying property. So other than that, there were no specific reasons and nothing specific on this property.
Yeah, it obviously protects the church from any, claims after the fact, because they're not making any representations about what title that they're giving. But in the circumstances, again, this property has been in the church's name since, what did we decide, 1980, 81, something like that. That's 40 years.
When the city surveyed the Chapel Street dedication, we did survey some boundary lines out in there. So I think that the legal description can reflect what is actually owned.
Yeah.
And title company can rely on that.
I think that's great. And I think it's worth it, even though it'll be a little additional cost to the city. Obviously, what we're getting is far more than that. And as far as for purposes of this agreement, we've included description of the property, but we just pulled the description from the county records. And so, a final legal description would have to be prepared prior to closing anyway. So I think getting an Alta survey makes sense.
And the water shares are included with the property, not on a separate certificate, correct?
The water shares are personal property, so even though, they wouldn't come with the real estate as an appurtenance like a water right would, but we're also getting a bill of sale. I didn't mention that, but they would also be giving us a bill of sale for all the personal property, so.
Right.
Matt, is there a typo on the quitclaim deed about where the property is located? It says Juab County.
Yes, if that's what it says, then yes.
You're pulling a fast one on us, Taylor. What are we getting over to Juab County?
This might be great. No,
Yeah, it might be a good deal.
Yeah. Obviously, the quitclaim deed provided as a form. The final deed would be prepared by the title company and reviewed by council. So,
Brock, where are we taking the money from?
This is money that we committed. Jack's going to pay it. But this is the 25,000 was committed as part of the Chapel Street right of way. So it's a transportation coming out of the transportation funds that the city has. It was set aside as part of that right of way acquisition. It was set aside to move the building down there. And so now we'll keep the money, keep the building, and figure out what we're going to do with it and how we're going to do it.
How many volunteers we need?
Right.
Yeah, is that part of a work meeting?
Yeah, Wendell's volunteered to chair the committee, the new Chapel Street Orchard Committee. And that volunteer goes well beyond council service dates.
That's a lifelong
It's pretty much,
appointment.
yeah.
I might be dead by the time we get this.
Mayor, this is awesome. This is, great for the city, for the church to keep this open and the opportunities there. I'm ecstatic. I won't turn on the camera because I've got a huge smile, but this is kudos and great work to everybody involved for this, because this is a great acquisition for the city and maintaining everything that's around that bridge and everything else, and the orchard and all of that.
I agree. Ben, before we turn on your camera, have you got your pants on?
You'll laugh. I'm all business down low with my work boots and work pants, and then I throw on a nice shirt and comb my hair. So
Good job, buddy. I agree. This is, I don't want to say a dream come true, but this is a better deal than we had imagined, and I'm excited about it. Excited about what Wendell's going to be able to do with the place.
I'll just add, Mayor, I think this is also a reflection of all the parties wanting to make sure that the original bequest of the property to the church, the intention of that is fulfilled. When the family originally donated to the church, they wanted it to be preserved in this way. And so I think it's great. I think it's a great thing.
Okay, council, is there any other questions or comments?
Well, we want to make sure that it's the city of Santa Clara political subdivision of the state of Utah, the real property located in Washington County instead of Juab.
Yeah, we'll make that change. Unless they've got 400 acres in Juab, they're good.
Yeah, we'll take whatever you've got in Juab.
Yeah, that'll show up. We'll make that revision there, and it'll also show up on the legal description of the patch. I'm not worried about that.
I just have a question. Where did the church obtain this property from in 1981, 82?
There is a history of this property. Taylor, have you got it right in front of you?
I don't. I don't have that on the top of my head.
It was from the Tobler family.
That's what I was thinking. It was.
Yeah.
Tobler. Yeah. And we were thinking that the Tobler name would be tied into whatever we decide to name the property. So it recognize that. At least that's what I'd recommend. One of your first official acts as the caretaker of the Chapel Street Garden.
I think I'm being railroaded.
Already happened, bro. Done deal. Okay, any other questions? If not, council, I would look for a motion on this. The item is approve the agreement with the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints for purchase of equipment and water shares related to the Chapel Street Orchard and associated donation of the land to the city.
Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Ben and a second by Denny. Any question on that motion? This is a money item. Ben?
Aye.
Lena?
Aye.
Jarrett?
Aye.
Denny?
Aye.
Wendell?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you, Taylor. Make sure you express our gratitude to the people that you're working with. The city, I'm excited about this. I think the residents are going to be very excited.
I definitely will. Thank you, everyone. And kudos to the stake presidency down there. They've worked really hard to get this together as well.
Yes, they did. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Number 6, mayor and council reports. Ben, you want to go first?
I will. I have none. How's that?
Report.
Wow, that's like 3 in a row for you.
I like that report. Lena?
I'll be brief. I just have, Brock, and I don't know if you were going to touch base on this, but I have an LPC update from the legislature with one specific request. House Bill 82, which are some modifications to single family. It is going to Business and Labor Committee on Friday. Walt Brooks is the vice chair of that committee and obviously represents our area down here. That bill, the league is opposing that on behalf of the cities. It would amend the single family limit. It's basically for ADUs, and it modifies ADUs so that there's a lot of restrictions in place in them on interior ADUs. It would mandate the cities to allow them in any single family residential zone as a permitted use. It would prohibit us from setting any type of restrictions on size, street frontage, lot size, parking. It basically just takes a lot of our options away. So the request is that we email or notify Walt. You could contact any of the other members of the committee too, but since Walt represents us, to maybe get a hold of Walt.
Is Walt the sponsor?
No,
He's
this is a
not.
sponsor from up north.
He's just the vice chair of the committee, and it is going to their committee on Friday. So the sooner the better.
And the gentleman who's sponsoring this bill, he was on 3 weeks ago or so with LPC.
Yeah.
And so he heard a lot of the discussion and the concerns. It sounded like when he initially was there was like, yeah, we can work. And then it's gone. Nope.
Complete
And so
360.
not this week, but the week before they did a lot of polls with everybody. And it's unanimous that opposing this. But yeah, he really changed kind of tune of being able to wanting to work this. And so
He's got a lot of support behind making the change. So it would be good for us to reach out and let them know that we're not interested in having that change done. And then the only other one that will potentially, there's several, but I won't get into all of them. The only other one that potentially could be a big deal would be House Bill 98, which is a change to building inspection procedures. They are wanting to allow contractors to opt out and use their own building inspectors for building inspections and plan review, and not have it done by the city. And it would prohibit municipalities setting design elements. And so we couldn't dictate materials, roof, square footage, landscaping. We would lose all authority to do that. And so.
In all zones or?
Yes.
And if they did, the contractor, whoever the hell, they also give the CO. So whenever they decided to give a CO, city would have, has no.
So that's a pretty, I mean, that's a pretty significant change. I look at it from the standpoint of, gosh, you could hire, I mean, if you're a building contractor, sorry, Ben, but if you're a building contractor, I could go hire somebody who's licensed. I could put them in-house, put them on my payroll and say, okay, you're going to do all this for me. I think that's a huge conflict of interest personally, but.
Yeah.
I would.
A lot of holes, a lot of holes.
Yeah.
They didn't think of a lot of things.
Yeah. So anyways, that's one that we could also let Walt know, hey, we're not interested. That's House Bill 98. Those are probably the two biggest ones. There were several others. They haven't got a lot of traction yet, but those are two that have a lot of traction. And I think there's some private interests that are helping push that direction. So, and that is my report.
Thank you, Lena. Jarrett?
We met as a small business grant committee last week, I believe, to look over one more application that we had asked for more information. It didn't all come in, but we were able to still give some money to that business. And then we also discussed if we should increase the limit of the grant. It was set at 10,000, and we only had under 100,000 committed. And so we decided as a committee to raise it to 15,000, which meant, was it 3 or 4 more businesses got additional money? I think one got an extra 5, and several's got a couple more thousand. So I think they'll be really pleased with that extra help, and we're still way under the 200,000 we had dedicated to that. And that's all I have to report.
Mayor and council report. Oh. He went over and talked to you. He saw the real power in the room.
We have a chamber guest with us.
My name is Adley. I'm the public policy coordinator from the St. George Area Chamber of Commerce. Regarding those House bills, if we could get together after the fact and talk about it, the Chamber of Commerce would be more than happy to draft a letter against those bills as well, so we can kind of join forces that way as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, sir. What was your name again? Adam?
Adelaide.
My name is Adley Ellison.
Right.
He has a new position at the chamber to help with everything political.
Hey, while you're here, since you want to make a report, get back up here. Tell us about what's going to happen on February 17th.
We're like.
You guys are supposed to come out here for a state of the city.
Oh yeah, that is gonna be a state of the city. That's right, because the St. George one got.
I just want to let these guys know.
Mayor.
So tell us everything that's going to happen.
So as far as I know, that's the events coordinator's position is more than anything else. Because right now we're kind of up to our necks in the gala. The fundraising gala is gonna be at the Dixie Convention Center next weekend. As far as the state of the chamber, I just know that the mayor will be providing some remarks just about how the city's been going in the past year. Outside of that, I'd have to refer back to the events coordinator back at the chamber as well.
All right. If you can just have them send me a sample. Are we the first city to do it?
Yeah, so far that we've been starting to do this as the first city. St. George was going to do theirs, but then obviously Mayor Pike resigned from his position as mayor, so we weren't able to do that.
Okay. If she can send me just a tentative program of how she thinks it going, how long I'm going to have to talk.
No worries. Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll come get your email after.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You should be able to do it pretty short if the governor can do his state of the state.
I'm taking the governor's
15 minutes.
lead. If he can do the whole state in 15 minutes, Santa Clara is like 97 seconds. So pay attention.
Well, I've attended the one that's the city of St. George has done several times, and usually it's just the mayor speaking, but he has invited other people up to speak in the past, so you could invite anybody else.
And if
as well.
council wants to participate in this,
Or any
if it
department
just
head.
let me know.
Anything like that.
But I do need from the department heads, APWA, ASE conferences a week before that. So I need kind of a summary of the things that we've got going on right now, things that we finished, kind of maybe a wrap up to the video that was up, What's Up Down South. There probably won't be a video, but we maybe could. Just give you guys a heads up that I need that stuff probably right after the first of the month, the end of next week. I probably need to get some of that stuff from you so I can put something together. So thanks for reminding me of that.
It probably is about 30 minutes to fill, I'm guessing. To be
Yeah,
honest.
that's
We're
not
gonna
a-
drive all the way out here to eat lunch. They want to.
30 minutes, not a problem. I can do that high councilman Sunday thing.
Oh, we pay the big bucks, Mayor.
Yeah, that's why you get the big bucks. That's why if you skip writing a few newsletters, you got lots of copy when you come down to a speech. Okay, Danny.
I contacted the BLM. That their office has been closed. I left a message with Keith, waiting to hear back from him. I don't know if you've got a separate number.
I'll share everything I have. Sometimes you just have to go knock on the door.
Well, they said nobody's in. Wouldn't be in.
Okay, anything else? Linda?
Nothing.
Great. Okay, staff. Brock, you got anything?
Don't really have anything to add tonight.
Ben? There's Ben. Brad? Chief? Rich? Jack?
We got well number 6 up and running. We turned off well number 7, so that's good news. We interviewed all the engineers today, the 5 that we selected for the pool, to see if we want to change and get a new city engineer. Those interviews went really well. I think that's pretty much it. Unless you got any questions.
Corey?
Utah Association of Building Officials met on that House bill and are drafting a response for the building officials in the state of Utah. They're also having some mayors and councils that are drafting some language and letters. And I'm trying to get a copy of that to send to everyone, see if you want to make your own letter or join on with that letter. And posing some of these building bills that are going through. The building bills that went through were not really, when we sat down and talked to them, they weren't really vetted. They didn't talk about the insurance industry and what it would do to it. They turned it over to private individuals who was going to take care of the paperwork, the permits themselves, who would be the recorder, the responsible party for that documentation. And a lot of holes in their proposal. So I'll get you that information.
Thanks, Corey. Christelle, do you have anything? The mayor's call today, or yesterday, numbers are dropping. The cases are dropping, and so that was kind of a good news. They're back to October levels. The hospital, the ICU is still at 100%, but that's down from 180%. So that's good news. The big swing is on the vaccinations and getting the vaccines out. And you guys watching the news, you're seeing some of the struggles that they're having that way. We did try and get some of our frontline workers, our counter people, and get them tested, but just a few lucky ones got through, not all of them. And so I'm going to try and work with the health department to get some more ability to get some tests there sooner than later. But schools, still the numbers in the schools and at the university are low. Superintendent Ferguson made the comment that everybody across the country is looking for a plan, and said all they really need to do is look and see what Washington County did. It's been really successful with that, and so we're grateful for that as well. But so things are moving in a better direction. I still like to have us all make sure you wear your mask, make sure you socially distance, make sure you're the example, and try and get vaccinated as soon as you're able to. But that might be a while. Except you got yours. Nice. Yeah, 5 minutes. It's going to kick in. Okay. That's, I think that's really all. Had the MPO met, but it didn't really involve anything on Santa Clara. I would still like to meet with St. George once they get a little organized in their new council and mayor's assignments and discuss the possibility of bringing SunTrans this way, taking advantage of some of the tax increment that was given to us. Right now, it's being spent on the Zion bus route that is moving forward pretty fast. And so I do want to have some discussions, and I'll bring some information back to you. Probably have Cameron Cutler come over. I was going to have Mayor Pike come over, but he might still come, but he'll just have to tell us about insurance at the state level. But other than that, I think that's all I had. We don't need executive session.
Nope.
So all I need is a motion to adjourn. A motion by Wendell, second by Second by Lena. Any question on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You still there, Ben?
I'm here.
We appreciate you hanging in there to the end, buddy. How you feeling?
I'm great. It's my two boys that have it. So they're fine though. They were just going through the 10 days. So.
Okay, well, good luck. Let us know if you need anything.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Take care, Ben.